Welcome, everybody, to Evolution on the Mic. I am your host, Ariana de la Cruz.
And I'm your co-host, Antoine Dove.
And we are so excited that you guys are all here with us. We actually have a new season, a season 2. So I don't know if you caught on. Our first season composed of 4 episodes, and we have concluded the teachings and everything we wanted you guys to see and learn in the first season. So this is season 2, and we've decided to call this episode "The Power of Words." And in this season, we are going to go through a few things, and mainly we're going to build on what we've already discussed. Okay. So yeah, we discussed already radical change, who you are and whose you are, and sacred relationships. And then we brought on our amazing guest speaker, Andrea Lee, that embodied these 3 teachings beautifully. And I hope that you guys got so much out of that, as much as we did.
That was a
So
great
thank
interview.
you.
That was a really good interview. She dropped a lot of just great nuggets of information that I felt a lot of people could relate to. And then there were some things that she shared that I think was probably new to some of us. Like I still, the fact that she was kicked out of her house at 16 by her mother, and raising her like with a child in her arms, and where she is today and how much growth she's seen to the point that she's working with you and you're helping her with business funding is just mind-boggling. That whole experience has just been insane.
And I know there's more for us to partner
plenty
in.
more to come.
Like she said in the video, she feels there's gonna be a great partnership. And I promise you, I had no idea what she was really meaning when I first met her months ago. And now it's all coming together. We're very in alignment. Our drive, our passion, our faith, just the things, the passions that we have are in alignment. So I'm excited for that. So shout out to you, Andrea, for showing up for us last week. How are you doing, Antoine? How's your week been?
Yeah, the week's going good. I mean, I'm starting to go through this time period of reflection. Like it's been about 90 days now since I left my 9 to 5, or I was, let go from my 9 to 5. And there's been a lot that's happened in the 90 days. And so I like to reflect back on those timestamps just to see like how are things progressing? Are they progressing as great as I thought they were? Candidly, I will say that, entrepreneurship is hard. Going out and start on your own and, having to hunt for yourself is difficult. And I think there's a glorification of entrepreneurship oftentimes, and you don't always see all the behind the scenes work. And I think with this podcast alone and us working together, so much recently, I'm really starting to have truly a huge respect for all entrepreneurs out there. Like if you're an entrepreneur and you are grinding and you're doing what you need to do, like hats off to you, because that's huge. And so, yeah, that's where I've been. I've just been doing that reflection. Things have been going good. Real estate here in North Carolina is continuing to grow. We have this podcast. Podcast is so much fun. We're doing a lot in this podcast. As you can see, season 2, right? New look. Now we have both of us on the screen. We told you guys we were going to continue to evolve over time, right?
With our logo on this beautiful cup.
Look, Ariana with her Vanna White cup. I mean, we are on to big things. So, yeah, I'm excited about this new season. I'm also excited for, in this 90 days, I've learned a lot. Have experienced a lot in these 90 days that has continued to help me to grow. And I'm grateful for that. So I'm just in a place of gratitude right now.
Awesome.
What about you?
Same way.
Yeah,
I'm definitely filled with a bunch of gratitude. By the time that you guys see this, I would have had probably a month that I've left my 9 to 5. For me, it's only been a few days, 4 days to be exact, since I retired from the 9 to 5 world, or from that specific company. And I have just felt I feel free. I feel like I'm on my path. I feel like I've arrived. And again, it starts with the power of your thoughts, the power of your words, and just the feelings that I have with it. So many things have already came my way. It is a lot of hard work, like Antoine was saying, entrepreneurship. I am juggling the podcast. I am juggling my business funding business. And I'm also juggling my inquiry removal business that is, an animal and a beast all on its own. And I'm great at all of them. I am seeing my leadership skills develop. I am having doors open for me. The clients have this since Friday, since my last day. I've gotten clients for funding that have just said, hey, I want you to help me. And I'm like, really? Like, you know how, like, why me? Like, how did you find me? He was like, I just clicked on your Facebook and I seen your banner. And I'm like, that you help real estate investors. And I'm like, wow, that banner did something. Like, I'm not even promoting myself. So it's just flooding my way. I got a connect over the weekend that basically wants to introduce me to some high level people, and they want to take me to LA to kind of connect me with great minds that are going to help launch and expand my businesses even to a higher level. And all these things happened literally the day after my last day. So for me, it
Wow.
just feels like God has been flooding the blessings for me, because it's like, you stayed the course. You have followed my voice. You have put in the work. You've grinded, and now it's your
Mhm.
time. And that's 100% what I feel, 100% what I know. So watch out, y'all. You know what I'm saying?
Hurricane
So
Ari.
season 2, the power of words. I totally believe in this. I totally advocate for this, and I totally have seen it happen in my life.
Mm,
And so much so that we are about to show you a video. But before I show you the video, I want to go a little bit on what season 2, the power of words, how we're going to structure this, right? How we're
yep.
going to do this, and what we're going to be talking about and what I mean, right? So power of words is the season, the name, everything that we're doing is all about our words and how much power they have. But I believe that it all starts with our belief systems, right? And our belief systems births our behaviors, right? So we're going to really touch on that, like everything that we're going to do today and teach and talk about and hit points on is about the beliefs and how they birth your behaviors. And then next episode, we're going to talk about and go hard on how your behaviors births how you feel. And then
Oof.
lastly, we're going to touch on how you feel births your reality. And all of these things, we're going to touch on it on a video that I actually recorded back in 2011. Okay. 2011, 13 years ago, I was 23 years old. I had just started really embarking on my path to self-development, to spirituality, to connecting myself, to God, following his voice, and just doing all the things and speaking my life into existence. So here it is. I want to show a little snippet of the video.
Today is July 22nd, 2011. Within a year and 3-4 months, I have put myself on the transformation. But when you put yourself um, in the road of God and in the road of enlightenment and passion and drive and goals, there's nothing you can do. You're just unstoppable. I also became vegetarian, and I made the transition for my health. I made the transition from my greater me, for longevity of life. I want to live a very long life, and the way I was eating, I was not gonna get there. I want to live to 100 years old, and I know that I will see 100 years old. I know that from the dust of me, and everything that I'm doing now is in preparation to see myself to live to 100. There's a lot of things I want to do in life. There's a lot of lives I want to touch. There's a lot of helping and inspiring that I will do. And I feel like my job will never be done. Even at 100 years old, I will still be working towards enlightenment. I will still be working towards seeing other people fulfilled like I am becoming fulfilled. I want to help people get there. I want to help people wake up from their sleep.
Wow, Ariana. it's, I mean, I am without words. I mean, and I think part of it's because I'm so close to you, or we became so close over these last, 30, 60 days or so as we've been working on this podcast. But it's a bit eerie to watch yourself in 2011 talking about all the things that you're going to do, speaking so prophetically, speaking without any kind of fear, doubt. Like, you were so laser focused on what you know you were going to do, even down to the fact where you're saying, I'm going to be 100 years old. Like that, like, who thinks that, right? At 23, like, some of us are just like grateful if we can get to 60 or get to 70, but you were already forecast like, I'm living to 100 and my impact will be felt well into when I'm in 100. And just because I know you, it rings so true to who you are today. Everything that you embody today, how you speak today, it's like there has not even been like a degradation or anything. Like that, it literally how you spoke in 2011 is exactly how you speak today. And I think to me that was the biggest part that I took away from the video was how real it was. It felt like the 2011 Ari I was talking to is the same 2024 version of yourself that I'm talking now. Now I'm sure you've learned a lot through that time period since that time, but the fact you were able to vividly talk about the impact you have and changes that you were making back then and how that would impact your future self is just wild. Like I'm still, like I said, I'm speechless. Like
Yeah, I mean,
where were you at? Like what I have so many questions, right? Like where were you at like mentally and stuff when you was preparing that video and as you were getting ready to record, like or did you just like I know you mentioned you had just got out of bed, like what was going
yeah.
on in your life in
Yeah,
that?
so that morning, I called out of work. And again,
Mm,
this was all God led. So he just told me, take time for yourself, take the day off, like you deserve it, it's okay. I really did not like taking off of work. I'm very hardworking, and it takes a lot for me to like take a day off. Like I really
right,
have to be really, really sick. And I will work while I'm sick, or even if I'm off of work or if I'm on vacation, I'm the type of person that I will still be putting in time and I will still be checking in. I just love to work. And I've always been that way. So God had just told me like take the day off, and I just want you to read and enlighten yourself and feel yourself. And I think I was doing a fast back then. So the book that I was reading was about fasting. And it was a Christian-based book. And I had just felt all the love of God, and I just felt God telling me, record this video. And if you guys look for the video on YouTube, you'll see I only recorded one, and that was in 2011. And I feel like that was enough. That was all God wanted of me, to document that so that today it will make sense. So that today in
mm,
this podcast and in Mentors Way and my books that I'm going to author, it all makes sense that none of this happened by accident.
right,
I was very intentional in what I wanted to be. And I knew that I was going to be there, that I was like, I'm going to record this video and I'm going to put it on YouTube because it's going to be timestamped, and no one can say, oh, that was made up, or, she's just this person that has been on the path for a couple of years and that's it. Like, no, this has been over 13 years in the making. God told me who I was going to be, as I said in episode 1, when I dropped out of high school, I had a revelation. And since then, everything that I've done has been pointed, has been very guided to be who I said I was going to be. So where I was at, I was in a place of complete surrender to God. Complete,
mm,
like I don't know how, I don't know when, and none of that matters, because I'm gonna figure it out and you are gonna do it on your perfect timing. And I feel now, it's my time, and I've made a lot of sacrifices during that time, and what I was doing to get closer to God, and whatever he needed of me, I did it with a smile on my face, and I will continue to do that with a smile on my face. So yeah, one of the things that I remember doing was that I became vegetarian, which was big in my Dominican Hispanic family, big meat eaters. I was always a big meat eater. So when I became vegetarian, it was something that happened like literally overnight for me. Like one day it was like not
cold
eating it no
turkey,
more. Yeah,
just
and
cold
I
turkey,
cold
wow.
turkeyed it. And I never went back. I had intentions on going back and eating meat. It just, I felt like I was allergic to it. I promise you. And I just like knew that that was like God that just took that away from me, because the way I was eating, the lifestyle that I was leading, drinking, partying, eating, just was not going to lead me to a life of longevity. And I knew that I was meant to inspire. I always told myself, you are a walking inspiration. But the way I was
Amen.
leading my life back then, who said I was going to live past 50? It just wasn't going to happen. Heart attack coming, something was going to happen. I just wasn't going to live that long. So I knew that vegetarianism was going to help me, and it did. So to this day, I still don't eat meat. I eat mainly seafood, so but I don't eat red meat, and I haven't had red meat since then. Um, you know, and I don't really need it. Like it makes me like, well, I want to get nauseous whenever I think about it. When it comes to red meat, for sure. So I did that for longevity of life. I did that because I wanted to inspire even at 100 years old, because I know I'm going to see myself. And I feel that to this day. I said it 13 years ago. I'm going to tell you right now, again, with 100% confidence, I am going to live to see 100 years old. And I am going to continue to inspire. So if I'm 100 years old and I get called to speak, to be on a stage, to film something, I'm there. And I'm going to have all my marbles in check. And I'm going to be able to still speak and empower people and inspire people and be that walking inspiration. And everything that I do is in alignment to that. So I definitely spoke everything into existence that is now. Hasn't been easy. It's been a journey. And I'm still growing, I'm still learning, but man, am I more confident. Man, do I have more tools, and I have skills, and I have gems, and I have knowledge, and I have practices that I've seen work. Back then, they were theories to me. Those were just books that I was reading. Today, there are things that I know for sure work. I know for sure they've stood the test of time for me in my life. So yeah.
There was, I mean, I think the other big part of that video, and I know we just only saw a segment of it because there's so much more that is on that video, but there was so much that we've talked about in the first season that was playing out so true in that video, even down to what you were just talking about like kind of your faith walk and how you believed and you had that communication with God and that trust with God. God talked to you. You had a trust. You sacrifice. I can hear sacrifice in what you're saying. Like there were things that you did that we've talked about in the first episode, and this was before we even made the podcast, right? Like you were these things you were putting into practice was 13 years ago, and here we are today talking about it, and you've had 13 years of practice. Like you truly have mastered all of what we are talking about now, because you've put in your reps, you've put in your time, you have your receipts from what you've done to make that happen. And I just think that is incredible. I really do. I think that's incredible. And I applaud you for that.
No, thank you. I've definitely tested it all. And God is so good and so gracious that even in the times that I fell off and I haven't been perfect, he picked me right back up like I never fell. He picked me right back up better than ever. He picked me back up to shine to the world that the things that I've done that are not good or that might be seen to the world, like, that might not be of God, but he has everything that I have that has happened in my life that hasn't been the greatest things. He has always used that for the glory of him. Like it don't matter what you've done. It doesn't matter the things that has transpired in your life, the things you're not proud of. I'm going to turn that into a gold star, and everybody's going to applaud you for those things, because through those things, a lot of people will give up. A lot of people will stop believing in themselves. A lot of people will stop thinking that they're good. And it's like, I'm bad and I don't deserve God's grace. And God is like, I love you even more, because you know what I mean? Even though you haven't been perfect, you never stop believing the dream. You've never stopped doing certain things that are in alignment to continue seeing that happen. And I think God also make things happen sometimes in our lives to show us that you don't have to be perfect. How much he loves us and how much grace he has. So yeah, definitely, my experiences, everything that I've happened, I can totally see how my beliefs birthed my behaviors, because I knew who I wanted to be. I believed in everything God had told me that I could be, like, especially reading those books, Think and Grow Rich, The Secret. I knew that what was possible for me and what I had to do to get there. And I was adamant to do anything that I had to do to make sure that the things that I believed about myself were going to happen. And once I started really believing in myself, believing in the things God told me, believing in the possibilities of what could be, right? The passions that I had, the desires that I had to be a walking inspiration, my behaviors followed suit, right? My behaviors of eating differently because I want the longevity of life, my behaviors of reading different things and studying different things, my behaviors of not drinking, right? I went 8 years of not drinking after, that time frame. Close to that time frame, my behaviors of not partying and like locking myself in the room and everybody thinking that I'm crazy. Like, why you're not going out? Because I was a party animal from the age of 14. Let me tell it. Okay. I was in the club at 14 years old. So all my behaviors follow suit once my beliefs were in the right place. Once I believed so strongly that I was like, this has to happen. Everything else that followed after that of my behaviors, the things that were in contradiction or were self-sabotaging, I make sure to have that resistance and stop. And how about you, Antoine? Is there anything that happened to you? Any beliefs that you've had that you feel like birth behaviors or something?
Yeah, I mean that last part you said really just resonated with me when you were talking about how the beliefs, if your beliefs and your behaviors were incongruent, if they did not reflect each other in any way, then you got rid of those certain behaviors that did not support the beliefs that you were, living every day. Like, because your faith in that video was so strong. And it did make me start thinking some about my life and things I've been through. And I've had a couple experiences. The most recent ones, it's been the podcast. But prior to the podcast, I went through a very big weight loss experience, and I was on, a TV show, The Biggest Loser, and on that show, I lost over 152 pounds. And in the show, you fast frame everything, and that all happened over the course of 6 months. But what I remember was when I started the process, and I realized, like, to me, it felt like I received the golden ticket when I went on The Biggest Loser, because weight loss and being overweight was something I struggled with all my life. Even today, I still have my bouts with my weight. And it was when I got on The Biggest Loser that I realized, wow, all of my dreams now can come true. My dream of having a fit body can come true. And the reason I believed in the process so much was because I had already seen people do it. Right. And that to me relates a lot to the books that you read. Like, a lot of the books you were feeding your mind back then were books with people talking about things that they had, done. Like, you saw the receipts, you saw the life that they lived, you saw the results. Like, if Oprah wrote a book, when Oprah wrote her book and you're reading through that, you see the lifestyle Oprah has now. And you are saying, hey, if you did that and I want that, I'm going to do the same thing. And so for me, that was so huge. And as I lost the weight and I got back down to the right size that I was, I did change a lot of my behaviors. Like, I didn't eat out as much. Like, I didn't drink. There were certain things that I just stopped doing because it did not align with my belief, which was I wanted to be a healthy, fit, strong man. And not only that, through that, I wanted to be that also for my family. So that was my first experience. My second one has been with this podcast, and I think you might can relate to this some. And I'll tell you guys, I'm going to get a little vulnerable on this one because I feel like it's important to talk about these things.
This is a safe space. This
it
is
is a safe space, and I appreciate that. And so with starting a podcast, especially a podcast when you're putting God in the midst of everything you do, like, we pray before our episodes. God is in this. This is not Ariana and I just giving you what we think. Like, we sit and listen and meditate and pray to him to give us the message to share with you guys. And for me, I've struggled with some, urges of my own, urges of the flesh, particularly of, sexual urges and things that has definitely been, tough for me to let go. And I've been having this feeling as of late that as I'm continuing to do this podcast, there's certain things that I need to sacrifice and let go. And God's been showing these things to me over time. The first thing he showed me was drinking. And so I stopped drinking back in October. So as this podcast is coming out, it's about 3 or 4 months ago that I stopped drinking, that I haven't drank. And I made that decision because I was listening to someone that I respect, and they were talking about how they don't drink and that drinking did not bring them any benefit. They said, I don't see, any benefit from drinking. If drinking had some major benefit for me, then maybe I'd do it. But they said, there's nothing that drinking brings me that I can't create in other ways. And I was like, wow, that's very powerful. And that really hit me. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to stop drinking. And I have. And I've not drank in 3 to 4 months. And that has helped me definitely for my mental clarity, and has also helped me with time, and also, quite frankly, money. Because if you're not drinking, you're not spending that extra money on drinks and things. So that was money that I could then start to invest in other things, such as, starting new businesses, things that were going to help feed my mind. And that's what I've been doing. But the other thing that God has just recently brought to me, and Ariana, I've had a lot of conversations around this, has been sex. And, as a man, and I won't even just say as a man, but as human, like as someone who has fleshly desires, sex is real, right? Like, the want and urge for sex is real. And for me, I enjoy it. That's the best way I can put it. I enjoy it. And so as I've been growing in my faith walk with God, and we've been having these podcasts, I realized that the exchange of energies that you experience when you're having sex with someone and the things you're doing also impact you. And to me, that was probably one of the most profound things that I started to realize as I was growing closer to my faith walk with God, was that with each sexual encounter that I have, I am exchanging energies. And I'm very careful about, the people that I engage in, those type of activities with. And they're not just like some, random person off the street. It's not like that. Like the relationships I've built with those people are great relationships. However, where God's taking me, God's saying, I need you to be pure. I need you to be focused. And we talked about that some in our last episodes, about when Ariana was kind of explaining about how she had to do a lot of sacrifices, even Andrea, a lot of sacrifices she's had to do. And I realized, I was like, wow, this is something that I'm holding on to. And although it's something I enjoy, it's not something that is needed. It's not something that is drawing me closer to my purpose and what God has created for my life, and this track that He has put me on as being someone that's conducting this podcast, as Ariana always say, for the future leaders and uniting great minds. And like, if you're going to be someone that's going to be a voice for that, you need to practice what you preach. You need to practice living a life of purity and being tapped in, because the energies that I'm collecting over time are just distorting those messages that I'm getting from God. And so I made it. I had a tough conversation with Ariana. We sat down, and I realized that that was something that I definitely have got to let go in my life. And so I've cut the cord for that. And it's only a couple days in, so I'm not going to act like, oh, I've been doing this for a year. But what I will say is that I realized that that was probably one of the greatest commitments that I could make to God, was saying, this is something, although I enjoy it, although it's something that I, appreciate greatly, it is not something that I need in my life right now, because my focus, my mission that I am after is to serve you and to deliver this message that you want us to deliver. And I am committed. I will let that go. I will not engage in those activities, because I want to deliver on the purpose you have put me on this earth to do. And once I said that and realized that, I felt a relief. I felt like we've talked about before. I felt like my shoulders kind of drop. I felt clarity. I felt energy come back to me, because it was something that has been weighing on me for a while. I knew that what I was doing was not going to be helping the greater mission for what we're doing on this podcast. I knew what I was doing was not aligning with what God had for my life. I knew what I was doing was clouding my judgment and keeping me from being able to stand up as a man of God and be able to deliver a message that I know will impact others. And so I'm, one, grateful to Ariana, my business partner in crime, right? And then actually, I want to say in crime, my business partner in love. That's what I would really say. Is she was someone who called that out to me and was like, hey, I feel like something's not right. Like, what's going on? And we had that conversation. I'm grateful for her, and grateful for her for just bringing that forward and bringing that to my attention. But yeah, I mean, it's amazing that once you start believing in something greater than yourself, how easy it is to sacrifice things that you at one time may have held on very tightly to. But when you realize that that thing is not going to allow you to live your true purpose and to serve on a greater scale, it's like, well, what am I holding on to it for? Why hold on to it? So yeah, that's where I'm at. I mean, it's a lot to get off my chest.
No, and I'm definitely like grateful for you to sharing, your story. I'm sure that helps a lot of people. I mean, it's something that we all struggle with. It's definitely something that I struggle with, since young, you know what I mean? Definitely struggle with a lot of sexual urges and just being promiscuous, and it's always on my mind. So, but it's something that I know the devil knows about me. It's something that I know the enemy knows about me. It's something that I know the negative energy knows about me, and he knows who to bring into my space when I'm on a path of leveling up. The enemy knows my weaknesses. He knows your weaknesses and your weaknesses. And it's up to us to know that and rise above it. To be like, oh, I see you. I feel you. I see that you're trying to get me off this path, but my beliefs are going to be bigger than my urges. right?
Right.
I'm going to believe for it. And that is going to distract me, certain things. And we're not saying that there's anything wrong with having sex. What we're saying that if you notice that you are trying to be on the right path, and now these thoughts are really like attacking you, and people are trying to come back into your circle, into your space, you're getting text messages like, that's been happening to me. Like, hey, I'm like, bye. No, no, thank you. Things have been happening to me lately in the last few months since I've decided to do this podcast. And this podcast is faith-led, God-led, and we do need to be in clear energies. I know me and Antoine spoke months ago before this podcast. We were talking about kind of having the pipe cleared for God to communicate. And we
Amen.
spoke about like, remember that pipeline,
Yeah.
and there's things that we can like clog it up. And there's things that we need to make sure that we are aware of, that we are in pure minds so that we can hear God clearly. So I know we spoke about that, and this is just one of the things that the enemy is using to clog the pipe. And I want my pipe 100% clear because I want to hear God's voice, crisp and clear and not muffled. So sex definitely is something that we a lot of us struggle with, and the enemy knows that. Alcohol is another one. And again, these things are okay in moderation, but if you know that this is just not moderation, like it's on my mind and it's like something that I have to have, and definitely lean into God, and he's going to help you believe in yourself, believe in what he's calling you to do. And like I said, the behaviors will follow suit. It's not that it's going to be easy, but you will have a bigger understanding what might be at risk if I don't stop. And I don't want to risk that. I don't want to miss my blessing because I am giving into these urges, and I'm giving into the enemy and letting the enemy win. Absolutely not. So that's all we're trying to showcase here, is that your beliefs have power. And once you're in alignment with that belief system, that belief system will alter your behaviors, and you will notice the things that you have to change. You will notice the things that you have to sacrifice. You will notice the things that you have to say no to, and you will say no to them with a smile on your face. You will say no to them gratefully, because you know that you're one step closer to the thing that God has for you, and that doors are going to keep opening for you. So keep sacrificing, keep saying no, and keep checking in with yourself and knowing the things that you have to stop, because trust me, you will know. And it's your
Yeah.
choice at that point, because we all have
Yeah.
free will.
There was something you said though that, and I think it's important for everyone to understand when you were saying we're not saying sex is bad. I do appreciate it, because that's not what we're saying at all. To scale it back, right? All that we've been talking about through this podcast is all about your evolution and your growth. We're documenting ours, but we're hoping that you're coming along this journey with us. And as we are moving forward, you got to think about each of these episodes builds on each other. So the reason that I had to address that urge for myself was because God was talking to me. And guess how he was talking to me? Through intuition, right? Through omens. God was continuing to speak with me, and I would have these feelings, like this deep feeling inside that I was like, I'm not feeling right. This doesn't feel right. Like I need to do something about this. And that was my intuition. And that's why it's so important for us to understand how God communicates with us, and also to have that relationship with us. Because if I wasn't listening, and this is what Ariana had also talked about, if I wasn't listening, then this beautiful path that God has put me on, which has allowed me to share my voice in this podcast, to share my love and pour my heart out to everyone that's listening, and be a true support for everyone that's listening, God will take that away, right? Like God is not spiteful. He's not going to take it away because he's like, oh, you're not listening to me, I'm going to take it away. He's going to take it away because his will be done regardless. Either you're going to be a willing vessel and you're going to do what God is calling you to do, or he will find somebody else. And what I realized whenever Ari and I was discussing this was, I was like, you know what? Like, this podcast means everything to me. I believe in the core of my heart that God has put me on this path and has aligned Ariana and I to share this message with you guys. And if I believe that, then my behaviors should model that. And if my behaviors aren't modeling that, then God's going to say, hey, look, love you, son, but I'm going to go over here. And I don't want that. I don't want that, because I enjoy this. I love this. I love what we are doing. I love this path that God has put me on, and I want to stay on this path. So I just want to remind everyone, like, it's still very important to be tapped in and understand that communication. That's why the pipeline of communication with God, as Ariana was mentioned before, that's why that pipeline is so critical. If you have a lot of clogginess and things that are in that pipeline, you're not getting the message clear. Something that you're thinking God is what something that you feel is the right thing to do may be the wrong thing because your pipes clogged. You're thinking, oh no, God's not saying there's anything wrong with this when yeah, he probably is. And it's not that he's saying that something's wrong. He's saying that whatever you're doing in that moment is not moving you any closer to the purpose that he has for you. That's all it is. It's not sex is bad. Is that right now, the path I have you on, sex is not helping you. It's not moving you any closer. You're spinning your wheels, buddy. Right?
Yeah. And the thing is that the beautiful thing is that these are all temporary things that we may need to let go. Right? When it's becoming a problem and stopping you from focusing and it's distracting you, like I stopped drinking for 8 years and then I drank for 2 and I seen how hot of a mess I was when I started drinking again, and I recently stopped. So I share the same thing with Antoine. I recently stopped drinking a few months ago. I think before the podcast even came to light. It was, the way that it happened was amazing. Like my mom had a dream and I already felt that I should stop. And then the dream my mom had just clicked for me and I just felt this is my time. That's it, no more. And little did I know that this podcast was on its way and God needed my full undivided attention. So I'm not saying that, oh, when you stop doing something and it's sacrifice forever, it's for a moment of time when God needs you to be fully attentive to him. We just have to stop. Even if it could be 6 months, it could be 6 days, it could be 6 years. It doesn't matter how long. You need to get the message. You need to change certain things, alter yourself, your belief systems, connect with yourself, read books, hibernate. Like, it's good for you. And once you do that and you come out, you'll come out a different breed. You'll come out a different person. You won't recognize yourself. Like, what just happened? Like, legit, I look at that video of me in 2011, 13 years ago. I was 13 years old. I mean, I was, I'm 23 years old. And I'm looking at her and I look at me now. And I love that part of me that just had all the hunger to learn and to connect with God and was willing to do anything and give up anything to have a strong relationship with herself and with God. She knew that was the way. She knew it was the way. And I look at her and like, she looks so different from me now, but I look at myself now and it's like, girl, you go, girl. I love you. You know what I mean? Like, I watch back at these podcasts and I promise you, I'm my biggest fan of this podcast. I clap when Antoine says something great. I say, because it's like, I did that? Me? Wow. And then, you know what I mean? The way I came across that video, I just came across it the other day. Me and Antoine had a call set up for 7:30 at night. I came across the video like at 7, and it's only a 12-minute video. So by the time Antoine called me, I was like, "Can we have you to watch this?" Like, I was like, you gotta go to YouTube and type in da 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 da. He watched. He just pressed play. Like for the first, he paused it. He was like, "What?" I was like, "Keep watching." And we just knew that we had to incorporate that video into these next 3 episodes. So you're going to see a little clip each episode and how it incorporates with our beliefs and how our beliefs shapes our reality, and our beliefs shapes how we feel, and it shapes our behaviors. So I definitely want to showcase more of it, and you guys got to see that little glimpse, and I hope that it sparked something in you. I hope that it touched you the way it retouched me and the way it touched Antoine. And I just hope that you guys, learn how important it is to speak life into existence, to the power of your words, how much they make a difference in our lives, the power of your belief systems and how they totally have an ability to radically shift your behaviors. It will draw you to the good things and draw you away from the bad things. And it might hurt and it may sting and it may be like, God, but I don't want to let that go. But once you do, like Antoine said, your shoulders drop. You just have this peace and you know that you did the right thing. And you know that you're waiting on God to just present to you the beautiful things that he's going to present to you, no matter what, no matter how long it takes. I never cared about how long it took. And I'm here today, and I might not be on that big stage, but I promise you I will be on a big stage, on a bigger stage than Oprah Winfrey. That's going to be me, because I am different, because I am unique, because I was born for this, and I do it from my heart. And I will continue to sacrifice everything that I need to sacrifice to see myself there, just so that I can impact you. That's all I'm doing this for. And I love my life so much, and I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful for Antoine. Thank you so much for being vulnerable and sharing that. I'm sure that you empowered so many people through that story, through those affirmations that you just said. That that you believe in this podcast and that it's already
Absolutely.
shaping your behavior. So that was a perfect example, a perfect testimony to the power of God and to the power of other people, that I knew something was off with you the other day. And we had that conversation that sparked for us to talk about it. So everything is just in alignment. Everything is in a flow. When God is in it, everything goes perfectly. When God is in it, there's perfect timing. And, you know, I just want to thank all you guys for being here. Thank all you guys for sharing your time with us. And I hope that you got something out of this. And we, you know, can't wait to, you know, have you guys view the next episode that we have. So as usual, if you have any thoughts, comments, or anything that you would like us to share, you would like to share with us, we'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment below. And with that, thank you for tuning in. And until our next episode, always remember, having faith in God, having faith in yourself, and having faith in others will create the evolution that you are seeking.
Amen. Let's go.